extra hits, the misses. They're all here on Dino the Video. Dean Jones takes us on a whistle-stop tour of a great cricketing career. The highlights.
Oh, he smashed that one.
The inside stories.
AB was waiting for me.
The characters. Botham, Hadley, Richards. The most explosive Australian cricketer of our time and one of the most outspoken opens up. Dino. It's out on video and a must for every cricket lover.
M-E-R-V, Merv. M-E-R-V, Merv. M-E-R-V, Merv.
One of his greatest qualities is, his ticker, affectionately known to us as the fruit fly. What you see on the field is more or less what you get with Merv.
He'll run it all day for you, and he'll give you everything he's got. What more can you want?
Merv, catch him at these stores now.
Beautiful ball. South, it's going to be one out. That's it. South Africa out. Catch it. South, what a catch. Mark Waugh takes the catch. What a wonderful performance to win by 8 wickets in the World Cup.
That's my most treasured thing at the moment, besides my children and family. The baggy green comes next, so that whenever I pull it on, I feel as if it gives me some sort of power and gives you that aura you're playing for Australia. So for us, it's really important in the first session of a test match for us to wear that baggy green, because I think the opposition know that you're up against almost a special sort of power.
Reid's catch was the last significant moment of the game. Australia won by 7 runs and took the World Cup for the first time.
It's like a dream come true. To actually win the World Cup, we hoped for, but now that we've actually done it, it's just absolutely fantastic. So what would you attribute the main reasons of your success? I think the fact that we've done so much hard work over the past 2 seasons. It hasn't always been evident the way we played on the field, but the players are gaining more experience. They're starting to believe in themselves a lot more, and it's starting to show up, on-field cricket. And I think just all the hard work, basically, and the players gaining experience.
There was moments there where I contributed with a bat. Probably the semi-final was my best effort there, but bowling-wise, yes, I think I was more of a bowler in that World Cup, and that's where myself and Simon O'Donnell really introduced the slower balls. They work well. I think the first game against India, AB got his overs mixed up, and I had to bowl the last over, and it worked out. I got a wicket, and from there on, I had confidence to do it. And AB just threw me the ball every time we got into a tough situation, or the last overs had to be bowled. He gave it to me, and I just kept believing that I was going to do well. And we just kept winning the close games, and it was a tournament where, as a side, we really grew together. We had a great team spirit and camaraderie, and we just knew that we were going to win the close games. Very similar to what happened in the World Cup, in the last World Cup.
3 ball not out, 31. Donald's one out. Australia into the final.
Yeah, well, luck's a word that I don't like to use in sport. I think it's an overrated word. I think you make your own good fortune, or whatever you want to call it. Luck, I think luck is a thing that people look back on when they're not doing well. They say, I didn't have any luck. But when you're doing well, I don't think it's luck. I think it's more good management, good play, good preparation. I've dreamt about for a long time. Once again, as a player, like talking that test match in Jamaica against the West Indies, that was the ultimate in test match cricket. In one-day cricket, I've always dreamt about playing the ultimate innings in in a tough situation against the best attack under the most pressure, and that all came together in that match against South Africa. We were 3 for 48, chasing 272 on a real up and down wicket against a very good attack, and South Africa are on fire. They were the hot things to win the World Cup, and I walked out to bat, and in the back of my mind was, if I lose this game and if I don't score runs, this could well be my last game of one-day cricket.
Another 5 or 6 overs of this, Bill. A serious game.
Pitch it up on leg stump to the Waugh brothers. They both love them there. Very fast outfield, and that's a frustrated look on the face of the South African captain.
Got us back into the game, and there's certain times where you think we're going to win this game. I just knew deep down that this match was going to be ours, even though it was still 50.
He recovered very quickly. Well, every now and again, Steve Waugh, just from nowhere, plays.
Saying that I told him to drop the World Cup, but I wasn't quite that smart or that brave to say it at the time. But myself and Herschel have been having a bit of a running battle all game. I respect him as a player, and he's good fun, and there was nothing bitter about it. It was more like, when he was batting, let's see how good you are under pressure. You've been out of the side a while. Let's see whether you're good enough today. And certainly was good enough. He got 120 really well. And of course, I came out 3 for 48, and you've got to expect to cop a bit back, which he was sort of chirping away, and I was sort of talking back to him. And then all of a sudden, the catch come, I think it was 50-odd. Hit an easy catch from my wicket. He's one of the best fielders going around, probably second to Johnny Rhodes in their team. And took the catch. But amazingly, after the team meeting the night before, Warney had mentioned that just when you get a catch, if you hit a catch to Herschel Gibbs, make sure you don't walk straight away, because he's a bit of a lair and he likes to throw the ball up straight away. And I don't know, Warney, he must have seen something coming, Warney, because that's exactly what happened. He caught the easy catch, but before it was under control, he went to sort of throw it up and celebrate and lock.
Afraid not. The law says you must have control over the further disposal of the ball.
And instantly I knew that he'd stuffed up, and so did he, because he just head down, picked the ball up and threw it away. The other South African players thought it was still out and they appealed, but fortunately for me, the umpire said, no, that's not out. And as soon as he dropped that, I thought, it's our game. So we managed to cross paths at the end of the over, and I just said to Herschel quietly, Herschel, you realise you've just cost South Africa the game, don't you?
Out! What a catch! Mark Waugh takes the catch, he just glided it away, and that's the breakthrough by Maguire. Superb fielding, he dived, he was balanced, went straight into those beautiful hands, and it's 1 for 21.
Well, that is just an outstanding catch. Short of a length. See here, Waugh just holding its line and pushed at it. That's gone to about third slip. That's an absolute screamer.
It's a culmination of 18 months of preparation. We talked about playing that perfect game the way we wanted to play, particularly against Pakistan. We knew that South Africa had beaten them the last 13 times they played against Pakistan, and South Africa are a very structured side. They're very consistent, persistent. They work an opposition over. They don't give them any breathing space, and they really strangle them. And we knew from that their advantage over Pakistan that we'd have to play the same. And bowling-wise, we'd have to be very strict in what we did, and that was line and length outside off stump, give them no free balls, nothing off their legs, nothing too short, just wear them down. And we did that perfectly. Our catching was phenomenal, except for one catch, and that person will know who he is, but occasionally you're going to drop a catch, but besides that it was just perfect. Then batting-wise, Gilly went out and just smashed him and just gave him no chance, and Mark played well, and Ricky, it was just our best performance. Actually on a second 11 tour to Zimbabwe in '91, and never met him before, and I've heard a few things about him, a bit of a larrikin, liked to enjoy himself on the field, got the blonde hair, and as I say, a bit chubby, but first time I saw him bowl, I thought, this guy's something special, like we've got a world beat on our hands as soon as I saw him, because he'd bowl a ball and he could hear the ball fizz through the air, you could hear his fingers click. There was just a lot happening. I'd never seen it before in a leg spin bowler, and he was so accurate. Where's this guy come from? He's got to be playing for Australia shortly. And sure enough, I think a year later he was playing for Australia, but from ball one he was a freak and something special.
Over the top, that's going for 6, yes, all the way. Well, he just putting a bat on that, Adam Gilchrist.
Short again and pulled away. Take that, and that's his off century. Gilchrist brings it up in great style, and he's played that shot so well today.
Australian cricket.
We were struggling part way through the tournament, and it was a dream of mine to win the World Cup and to hold it aloft. And you could see that dream sort of slowly slipping away. Then we clawed our way back, and we played so well leading up to that final of the 3 or 4 previous games. And to get to the final and to then lose it, for me, would have been a great tragedy. So we were so really focused and determined not to waste our good form that, as I say, we played a great game. And then to hold that trophy at Lord's and the home of cricket with the rest of the guys, that's something we'll never forget.
They hadn't slept for days, but that didn't stop the entire team from attending the biggest applause reserved for our skipper, vice-captain and one-day cricket's ultimate prize. And just days after singing what has become the team's official tune in the dressing room at Lord's, this time the real thing, with Steve Waugh's favourite musician belting out a true blue Aussie favourite.
Is it me and you? Is it mom and dad? Is it a kangaroo?
John Williamson was then given the honour of proposing the toast to our Cup champs.
To the best batsmen, to the best bowlers, and to the best captain in the world.
Non-stop sport, I think back to our childhood, and we just played sport from the moment we woke up to the moment we went to sleep, and then we thought about when we were sleeping. So it was just 24 hours a day. We were sort of sports mad, and that was cricket, soccer, you know, tennis, and there was table tennis in the backyard. You know, there's muck around rugby league and footy in the front yard. It was just always some sort of sport. Mum was a very good tennis player, as was Dad. You know, and they were always keen to have us playing tennis or catching balls out in the backyard. Later on, Mum became an Australian squash champion over 50 a couple of years in a row, and Dad still plays top sort of tennis now. So sport was definitely in our blood, and you know, something we did all the time. I do remember that first game. It's funny, cricketers always remember every game they played just about and what they scored. It's pretty amazing like that, but I still recall our first game. I think we didn't have a proper coach. We had the mums of all the kids looking after us and putting the pads on, and they didn't know which leg to put them on because you only had one pad to put on, and if you're right-hander, they obviously thought, well, put on the right leg, but that's not quite right in cricket. You've got to put on the front leg, which is the left one. So, and there were boxes going behind our knees, and no one knew what was going on. And I remember that the whole team got bowled out for 4, I think it was. Mark got our first ball, I got our second ball for a duck, and I think top score was the extras with 2, so it wasn't a great start for us. So if we took anything out of that game, it probably was that we should have taken up another sport. Well, it was pretty much even until we were 16, 17. It was always, you know, we'd play full on with soccer. I remember playing for Auburn. Mark and myself played for Auburn for a number of years, and we played under 14s, 15s and 16s in the same day. Like we played 3 games in a row. We played for 3 hours. You know, go back home and have cramps in the car driving back home with Mum and Dad. But you know, we just loved playing our sport, and soccer and cricket was pretty much even. Tennis we tried to fit in occasionally, but up until 16, 17 we were semi-professional at soccer as well. And I think the big thing came when we got picked for the Australian under-19 cricket team, and we had to really make a decision to sort of go full on into one sport, and cricket probably was our first love. Yeah, I was in Melbourne for a Shield game actually, and I heard a few whispers that I might be picked in the test side, and that was a pretty scary thought really. I thought, geez, I hope they don't pick me. I don't think I'm ready, I'm too young, I'm not really used to the press and all the media attention. I was sort of almost scared in a way that I was going to be picked, and the next morning, sure enough, I did get picked, and you know, straight away the press were all over you, and for me as a 20-year-old, I didn't know how to handle it. It was a bit confronting for me at that age, and I wasn't sure what to do. So leading in that test, I wasn't sure whether I was good enough. I didn't know how to handle the media, and all of a sudden I'm playing the MCG in front of 70,000 people with an Indian side full of players who've played 70 or 80 tests, so I was very nervous. Even more than that, I went out the back with Jeff Marsh, who I'd only met the night before, the first time I ever met him, so I probably had half a dozen words with the guy I was batting with in a test match in front of 80,000 people, so I really felt a bit lonely and a bit alone out in the middle, but Swampy was good. You know, we had a few words and sort of introduced ourselves again out in the middle. The Indians, they were very competitive, but they don't say a lot. I mean, they had guys like Kapadev, Sunil Gavaskar, Dilip Van Sarkar, Syed Kamani and Ravi Shastri, so they had a lot of experience and they didn't need to say a lot to a guy who was 20 years old who played 7 first-class games.
England may be out of cup contention, but that didn't stop the Queen and Prince Philip from welcoming the Super 6 teams to Buckingham Palace.
That was still my favourite tour, primarily because there were 7 or 8 of us who really would have been judged on that tour, and if we didn't make it through that tour, I think the selectors would have had to look to the next generation and get a new crop of players, and we knew that we were sort of on trial over there, plus there was Mark Taylor making his first sort of major tour. There's a couple of other young guys there, but for myself it really was a big tour, and after 26 test matches it was time to put my hand up and really arrive as a test match cricketer. One-day cricket I'd been doing well, test matches I was sort of hanging in there, so for me there's probably a bit more pressure, but I knew that I'd played in England before. The previous season I played county cricket and felt comfortable with the conditions, did well. And that first test, the moment I hit a ball in the middle early on in the innings, I just knew it was going to be my day.
That's a delightful stroke. I'll swear that that was nothing more than a defensive push.
Done it again. It's there to be hit. That's a brilliant shot.
There it is. He punches the air with delight, and why not? That's been a brilliant 100. Brilliant. There are his colleagues. He's waited some while for that.
What a great feeling for a batsman. Not only his first test century, but 150.
Particularly that first test match where I think we actually batted on into the 5th day for about an hour. And we had 5 hours to bowl England out. No one really gave us a chance. They all thought we were just trying to get a draw first up because England had players like Botham, Gadding, Gower, Lamb. They had an excellent cricket side and they were expected to win.
Oh, that's out. Lamb gone in exactly the same way as first innings, caught by Boone off the bowling of Alderman.
Oh, what a good catch. And that is it. Australia have won the first test match at Headingley.
And to bowl them out, I think, in 55 overs really was a huge victory. I remember the celebrations where we went berserk in the dressing rooms. There was beer and champagne going everywhere, as if we won the series 5-0 already. And then we had a great bus trip down to, I think it was down to Manchester we had a tour game up next, and we had a really great time on that bus. And we continued on at a few nightclubs there, and that was, I think, a time where the team really bonded together and believed that we were a very good Australian side and we're going to have a great tour. And looking back, that probably was a turning point for our test match cricket.
Oh, he's got him. That's very well bowled by Steve Waugh, and a fine catch by Healy behind the stumps by Graham Gooch. Port Healy bowls Steve Waugh for 60, and England's 4th wicket goes down.
Coming off that big 170 I'd not out in the first test, I felt in really good shape and just continued on. I think I batted actually better in that second test match where, you know, I was really solid, didn't look like getting out, and got another 150 not out. And as I say, Lords is where every cricketer wants to get 100. It's such a special place to play, a tradition. The slope of the ground, everything is so different to any other cricket match, and to be there at the home of cricket to get another 100 and against England, it didn't get any better than that.
Well, that one, a little bit of width, which Steve Waugh was able to cash in on. There it is. But it hits. It looked as though it would have been out, but triumphant wave of the bat from Waugh. It's been a lovely 100. That's his 150. 152 not outs. 329 runs in the series so far. Still no Englishman's got his wicket.
Yeah, it certainly is, I think, from a cricket point of view, easy to play away from home. In Australia, you've got a lot of distractions. Like this, what we're doing today, you know, you've got things you've got to do in Australia, you know, like you do books and you've got to do book signings, and you've got media commitments, and you've also got family, you've got sponsors to look after, and just everyone knows you and wants a piece of your time. Whereas when you go away from Australia, it really is cricket only, and you by yourself and you concentrate wholly on the test match coming up for the one day. So for me, I've always found playing away from Australia a lot easier. But having said that as well, now I've got a family and you know 2 kids. Now it certainly is a lot harder because you're away from the family, and that brings another thing into the equation. So it's probably about the same now. We come up probably about 10 years ago. We were always playing a lot of games of touch footy and those things before the games, and we needed to split up in teams somehow. And we thought, well, we've got a few nerds in the side, blokes who who don't dress that well and probably not that good looking, and then we've got the other good looking guys who dress well, and we thought, well, let's have nerds versus Julios, and it's sort of gone from there. And guys, as soon as they come into the side, they fit into one category or the other category, and straight away they've got their team. And it's funny you say that, because now we've changed over. We've got city slickers versus country bumpkins, because the nerds kept on beating the Julios every sport, so we had to change the criteria. So now we've got a new set of criteria, and it's country versus city.
Enormous shout. Hughes is not interested, but umpire Timmins is eventually, and Desmond Haynes goes very quickly.
Pretty obviously he's a nerd, mate. You know, the way he dresses and the way he carries on, and you know, the antics he's always up to. But he was a great bloke to have on tour, and we really miss him. You know, once you're gone, you don't realise what you're missing until a guy like that's gone. And he was always great fun, always up to no good in the dressing room, and very nervous watching cricket, and always touching someone or mucking around and kissing them, or just doing silly things around the dressing room. So he was a great guy to have on tour.
Good shot. Fabulous shot. Into the fence it goes. That's his half century.
I think he's a great competitor, a guy that you're really glad he was on your side, not on the opposition side. You know, he was tough, uncompromising, and pretty ruthless, but didn't say a lot. Even a bat pad, he didn't say much, but it was just the way he looked at the batsman. He sort of give them those dodgy looks, or look straight into their eyes and see whether they had any fear there. And for us to have him on our side was great, because he was reliable as a number 3, great player, steadying influence around the side. You know, he was never too flashy or got carried away. He was very down to earth, and he was very important for the overall balance of the side. So, and also, of course, he didn't mind a drink occasionally.
That's out. David Boone responding very quickly, as he often does in that position. Phil Simmons off the middle of the bat, thick inside edge probably. The bat jamming into his pads with the ball flying straight off the bat to David Boone, whose reflexes are still working very well. Snaps it up in the left hand, and the West Indies are in trouble.
That is a brilliant catch. Unless they're hit straight at you, they're really not the sort of catches you expect to take at bat pad. David Boone can be very pleased with that effort.
There's moments in your career where you certainly remember and you'll take with you forever, and that was one of those great moments where I was fielding in the circle, and Craig McDermott was bowling Roger Harper and bowled him a slow ball, which he didn't really pick, and he sort of followed through and tried to get away with it by trying to hit a 6, and I was inside the circle, and I knew as soon as he hit it they'll have to run back full pace without trying to look at the ball, and then try and get in a position where I just have to look up right at the perfect moment, and hopefully the ball would come down at the same time. And I was sprinting back, and I thought, I don't know whether I'm going to get this catch or not.
Hughes is coming around, and so it's a what a catch! That's the greatest catch. Oh, unbelievable! Stephen Waugh running backwards, almost colliding with Hughes down there, and the side screen. What a catch!
Probably the best outfield catch you've ever seen. Running with the ball, he caught it easily in the end. He kept his eye on the ball. Listen to the roar of the crowd, a magic moment for Waugh and the Australian team. They've dropped their catches. He hit this beautifully, Roger Harper.
I looked up and reached out, and the ball went in that perfect, as if someone just dropped it from that far. It just went in perfectly into my hand, and I remember just looking towards the crowd, and the side screen was nervous coming from the other side, and it was almost as if it happened in slow motion. But the crowd went berserk, and you sort of know at that time that you've taken, what I guess was one of the best catches of my career, and one that people will remember for a long time. But it was a great moment, and I was that excited about it, and the crowd was pumped, and our team was excited. It was just one of those moments you'll never forget.
It was always going to be a difficult catch, and then keep the eye on the ball, and just basics really.
And pray that side screen wasn't too close.
Or Murph Hughes, one or the other, yeah.
It's high, it's miles in the air. Hughes is coming around, and so it's what a catch! That's the greatest catch. Oh, unbelievable, Stephen Waugh, running backwards, almost colliding with Hughes down there, and the side screen. What a catch.
Probably the best outfield catch you've ever seen. Running with the ball. He caught it easily in the end. He kept his eye on the ball. Listen to the roar of the crowd. A magic moment for Waugh and the Australian team. They've dropped their catches. He hit this beautifully, Roger Harper. Under it, there was a gap at long off. He ran from inside the circle. Back he comes, eye on the ball. There's two of them, and he's caught it. What a gem.
A different sort of heat in Melbourne, where they've got like the Coliseum type atmosphere, and the sun really feels, you feel like you're in an oven. The sun feels like it's 10 feet away from your head. And I remember that night before I had a few drinks more than I should have, and was feeling a little bit seedy going into that game. So getting 68 not out, I was pretty dehydrated after that, and it was one of the toughest innings I've had to go through.
Pretty warm here at the MCG today. Pretty warm also for the Australian players out there because they're 4 down. Steve Waugh is in, the pitch is good. Not a problem there, but plenty of problems for the batsman, and that's how Mike Valletta went. Martin Stenton just getting the ball to go away a little. Valletta was giving it the glide down through the vacant slip area, and he's now back in the pavilion.
Looks like we might be going to have 5 overs of off-spin from both Patel and Bracewell.
Safely between the two men. There's no man at deep square, but there is a deep mid-wicket. There's something to infuse the crowd. There's 2 great shots from these 2 players in this over. One by Jones through mid-wicket, and now a glorious drive through extra cover by Stephen Waugh.
Waugh on 49. He gets it. 74 deliveries, a magnificent ovation. It's well played.
Got that away. That brings up the 150, and they're looking for a third. They scramble home. It's about 80 metres to get that one back anywhere near the stumps. A gamble on the arm.
Well played. It's beautifully struck. 5 for 175.
39 overs gone. Here's Gooch again. Oh, no one's going to like that very much, particularly the fellow who missed it. And I guess the bowler and captain as well. Oh, that's a good shot. Marvellous stroke from Steve Waugh. It's a slower ball, and he picked it, and he gave it some tremendous hammer.
In the air, and one bounce past Stewart. Didn't quite carry. Back comes Stephen Waugh. So 9 runs from that over. Oh, and through the hands of Gower. I think he might have got a finger to that one. That goes down to the boundary for 4. And into the fence it goes. That's Stephen Waugh's 50. He may not have played superbly, but the fact of the matter is he's got them on the board. And that's what this crowd came to see. They came to see runs.
Yes, he was beaten early and he struggled in his first 20, but he's still there. And Gower then went for the mark, couldn't get his hands to it, crashed through, and it raced away for 4.
Oh, that's a magnificent shot, high and wide, and is it 6? No, it's not. One bounce into the fence down there. A magnificent shot, that one from Stephen Waugh. A big gap in that area. Gooch is limited as to what he can do. He's brought that man in. Now he's moving him back and bringing the fine leg up. A 2 will do for his 50. Healy's on strike. This is the last ball. Fraser the bowler. He's smashed it down the ground. Will it be out? No, it won't. They're coming back for the second. Will he get 2? It's in comes the throw. Yes, he's hit the stumps. The umpire said not out. Healy's got his 50. Well, everyone is satisfied. Well played, Ian Healy. A magnificent innings. He came to the crease when at times were really tough for Australia. The crowd got behind him, and they're now showing their appreciation. A tremendous innings.
Steve Waugh says he's never been so frightened in all his career. The safety of the skipper and his deputy at serious risk. The pitch invasion at the end of the 29th over was bad enough, but nothing compared to the chaos on the last ball. Waugh needing a 4 to win, 3 runs to tie, but he wasn't expecting this reaction.
Madness here at Border. Absolute chaos. Someone's going to get injured out there.
Waugh was attempting a 3rd run, but with the fans' invasion, that became impossible. He was jostled, and one supporter even tried to steal his bat.
I have got whiplash tonight. I'm icing up my neck, and my bat was taken out of my hand, and there were threats made. So it doesn't get any scarier than that at the sporting field.
Mounted police were called in as the match referee informed both captains of his decision. Initially, the Windies had won the match by a run, but after viewing video footage, referee Raman Sabaro declared the match a tie. But fearing a riot, waited for the Australians to leave the ground before informing angry fans.
Yeah, it's unusual, man. If you ask my school teacher about these books, they would shake their head and they wouldn't be able to believe it. But it started off as a bit of fun in the '93 tour. I basically put it to a publisher that I was going to write a diary and were they interested in publishing it, and I'd take a few photos, and it's grown from that to what it is now. And people expect one to come out every year, and I really enjoy doing it. And for me, it's almost therapeutic on tour to sit down at the end of the day, write down what's happened, analyse things, and in a way, it's good for my cricket as well, because I can look back, and when I'm doing well, I know what sort of routines I have, and when I'm not doing so well, maybe I can try and identify what I'm doing wrong. So from that point of view, it's been great. It also takes away from boredom on some tours where you're in a room and you're a bit homesick and you think too much about your cricket. You can write about things away from cricket. You can take photos. So it's been good fun, and it's, as you say, it's turned out they're selling a few books, so you make a couple of dollars on the side as well. I mean, I've been touring for 12, 13 years, and I think the first 6 or 7 years you go to the subcontinent and you're not sure what it's all about. I mean, it's so different to Australia, the culture. Everything confronts you, the sights, the smell, everything you see is different to Australia, and it's so busy and there's always things happening, and you see a lot of poverty, and you really almost turn a blind eye to it after a while because you become so used to it and you don't think twice about it. Then all of a sudden, I think a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to try and do something about it, and I realised that I could change people's lives by just doing simple things, like raising money. So in a way you can just sort of forget about it because there's so much of it, but unless you take stock and have a look and try and do something about it, life just goes on in India and Pakistan the way it always has. It makes a difference when you've got children of your own and you realise what opportunities we've got in Australia and how they're looked after, and things you take for granted like immunisation, food, clothing, shelter. In Australia everyone's got that, but overseas a lot of people haven't even got any of that. Food is their main objective, and a lot of little kids you see on the street, you say, well, they haven't really got a chance at life, and it does make you want to try and help those kids to just give them opportunities, and then they can either take them or not take them, but it is sad when they haven't got any chance at all. I was really desperate to do well at Test match cricket. I didn't want to be seen as a one-day player, and I got a 130 odd not out, I think, down in Hobart, batting together with Jonesy. We've won a big partnership.
4 to Waugh.
The new ball has been taken.
And there's Steve Waugh's 50. They'll get an easy 3 the way these two run. Just what Australia needed. A quick 50 from Steve Waugh.
Champerga has been brought into the attack.
4 runs. Vacant third man area. So a poor start for Champerga.
Oh, that's a magnificent shot. Cut away down towards the boundary there. Into the fence it goes. Boy, do they stay hit when he cuts them.
It's a beautiful back foot player. LeBroy again far too short. There it is, and it's wide as well, and Waugh plays that square cut beautifully.
Two more to Steve Waugh. Once again, good running. Called for 2 straight away as soon as it went between the man at gully and rather squarish cover. And that is a lovely stroke with which to bring up your 3rd Test match 100. It's his 17th first-class century. It's been a super innings. Steve Waugh goes to 102.
And yeah, it was nice to get 100 in Australia. It was almost a relief that I'd finally got some runs in Australia in front of my home crowd, and people at home would appreciate that I was a good Test match player.
Ravi Ratnayaka comes on in place of Graham LeBroy.
Now that was barely visible with the naked eye. That was hit so hard. It's being brought into the attack from the Church Street end.
Good placement there from Steve Waugh, and as always, the timing is excellent.
I recall going into that Test match, a couple of journalists came up to me and said, well, you know, if you don't get runs this Test match, you're going to be out. And I knew that the writing was on the cards, that I needed to score some runs, and there was enormous pressure going into that innings, and I think I got away with probably an LBW off Ambrose when I was about 30-odd, and that was probably a turning point of that innings. And after I thought, well, it's going to be my day today, let's make sure you play well.
Steve Waugh will be happy to be off the mark defensively, but he'll get 3 as the outfield is quite fast. Phil Simmons picks it up just inside the boundary.
Some fielding to do, but he can't get across there in time.
It's 4. It's a bad ball. He puts it away. 1 for 112.
Yes. Steve Waugh going for the quick single. Jimmy Adams was the fielder, and he'll get 5 for it. The fielding here this morning has been a little bit slipshod. Some of the backing up has been very ordinary. Desmond Haynes on that occasion will not be pleasing his captain at all. This will be 50 for Steve Waugh and the 100 partnership all in the one go. Misfield there, but well struck shot and a good 50 to Steve Waugh. His first 50 in Test cricket since 1989-90 season. And he scored 134 not out in Hobart against the Sri Lankans.
3 runs away now from what will be a very good 100.
It's well played. They may go for 3 here. This could be Stephen Waugh's first 100 against West Indies in Test cricket. Back he comes. He's flying down the wicket. That's his century. He's first against the West Indies. Well played, Stephen Waugh. He's had a touch of luck, but they've been talking about dropping him. What an answer this is.
got to the 100, got a bit carried away, gave the journos up in the press box a bit of a serve. The next minute I was out, so I learned a lesson from that day, just to keep on focusing and don't get too carried away with outside distractions. But it was an important knock, because I think if I failed, then who knows, I might be sitting here now.
Curtly Ambrose now to Steve Waugh. On, well taken there by Phil Simmons in the leg gully position. Terrific catch, he's got a great pair of hands.
Yes, and off he goes, shaking his head. Very, very disappointed. How often does it not happen? You get to 100 and then all of a sudden lose concentration, flicked it in the air there, and what a good catch. He was very close to his Simmons. He's got a magnificent pair of hands, and once again Ambrose has struck. So Stephen Waugh, having got to 100, is now on his way back to the pavilion.
When I first came to the side, it was a difficult situation. He was really our only top-class player, and probably the only guy that was really professional in his attitude. And coming in as a young fellow, it was difficult because we had a tough transition time. I think 85 was my first tour in New Zealand, 85, 86, and Bob Simpson was the new coach, and there were different ideas going in there, and players on their way out, and they were trying to sort of pick a side for the future. Even though I probably wasn't ready to play Test cricket, I was identified as a guy that could maybe play for Australia, so I was sort of thrown in the lion's den a bit.
When the team needs you, if there's a bit of an injury, well, it's bad luck. You've got to bowl through it. Steve Waugh off the mark. Something that all Test bowlers find out at some stage or other, I guess, Mervyn?
Yeah, you have to go through a bit of a pain barrier, I suppose, to get through pretty tough seasons now. Cricket with the Test matches and the one-day games, and for a touring side, the tour matches. And we bowled a fair bit in South Australia.
Should run away down the hill pretty quickly. So Steve Waugh has a boundary and a 4-all run already in his innings.
De Groen. Beautifully played. Very, very risky shot.
Gone for that, hit that as clean as a whistle over the long on. Beautifully timed shot, one bounce, two bounces over the rope. Nice use of the feet there by Steve Waugh, coming at the bowler and lofting it over the mid-on position.
Good placement there from Steve Waugh. And these two really starting to put the foot on the accelerator pedal now. That shot pretty well today. And he's been given plenty of opportunities by Deepak Patel. 2 on the trot there to Steve Waugh. Australia 4 for 428.
Certainly in the box seat. The New Zealand bowlers have stuck to their task. Very difficult assignment for them out there on a good batting pitch. The temperature has cooled a little bit.
That's a good shot. Beautifully played. It goes flying away down to the boundary and into the fence.
Oh, good shot. Cracking stroke off the back foot from Richard de Groen.
Yes, the big question is, with everyone in saving the one now, all the fieldsmen in saving the one, the question is, will Stephen Waugh go over the top?
No, he won't. They're too deep, aren't they? Look at these 3 men here. We'll take a single in there somewhere if it's on the onside. He's a good runner. The only man in danger, I guess, will be Shane Warne. There he goes. Shane Warne comes through. There goes the throw from Cairns at the bowler's end. He's over. It could be 5. No, he gets the 1. Guy knocks it back at the end. A good 100 from Stephen Waugh. Plenty of action and beautifully run by Shane Warne.
Fantastic effort by Stephen Waugh, 6th Test 100, 3rd in Australia, first versus New Zealand, and his first century at the Gabba.
I missed the Sydney Test, and they had a major collapse and lost by a few runs in Sydney. Unfortunately, I was called back to the Adelaide Test, and for me, it was a big Test match, coming back in, and I guess having to prove yourself every time you come back in, even after injury, you've still got doubts, and that was one of my best Test match innings, is for the way I hit the ball cleanly, the way I hit the ball in the gap, and the quality attack I was up against. That was one of the most pleasing digs.
That's superb stroke. That will be 4.
That's
no place to bowl to any Test batsman, but particularly Steve Waugh, very strong on the pads. Really just whipped that away. It wasn't a great deal of energy, redirected the energy that Alan Donald had created for him. Just going down the leg side and off the meat of the bat. Just turning the wrist on it very nicely.
Breaks the shackles. That's a brilliant shot.
That's the way you stop the bowlers bowling short. A few problems there for Alan Donald, not least of all. He's bowled into one of the strengths of Steve Waugh, a brilliant cutter, hits the ball very powerfully.
Donald now out of the attack. He bowled 5 overs, conceded 18 runs, and we're now going to see McMillan take over. Well played, and it's going down towards the square leg boundary. That's Stephen Waugh's 50. He's come in when things were getting just a little tough for Australia, and he and Border now really have put together a very useful partnership.
Villiers gives Steve Waugh a bit of room. That's all he needs outside the off stump. Villiers replacing McMillan. Old one spell from the Cathedral end earlier this morning. From the River Torrens end. Not the start he was looking for.
It's a full shot. It's a bad ball, and that could have either gone over or on the ground. He decided to look on the ground. Another 4 to Stephen Waugh. It's 10th. And there he goes. He hammers it through cover. So he concedes 4 runs, maybe just trying to get a false stroke. Kirsten pitching short.
Once again, a good example of both the timing and the way that Steve Waugh is using this ground to his advantage.
Off the meat of the bat again, a lovely shot from Stephen Waugh. That'll go to the fence. So 10 runs from that over. Waugh for 340. Stephen Waugh just 3 short of his century. In the commentary box now, it's going to be Richie Benno, and with him Greg Chappell.
Got it. Or did it come just off the pad? No, it's come off the bat. Alan Donald knew that it had come off the bat because he clapped his hands to his head, and Stephen Waugh has made 100. It's his 7th Test match 100 and his 4th in Australia.
No one out in front of square leg. That may change now. Once again, tremendous placement from Steve Waugh as he really picks up the pace. His 18th boundary. It's 6 for 4, 122.
It's 150. Fine innings. Australia in a very solid position due to the magnificent 150 not out by Stephen Waugh.
Going to go that one. And the fence for 4. So that brings up the 450 now. Steve Waugh really cutting loose.
That was the first time we confronted Malik after we made the allegations about what was happening in Pakistan. And he wasn't the most popular player on our side, and we were pretty pumped up to do well against him. I think a lot of people, probably including the Pakistanis, thought we'd come out really aggressive, saying a few things, but we made a pact as players that we weren't going to say one thing to him. We were going to give him silent treatment. And I think it worked well. He was intimidated by that. Warney came on to bowl and enticed him to go for a big shot. I think he hit it to mid-on or mid-off and was out for duck. And you'd say we were pretty pleased with ourselves, and we're in that huddle. We were pretty pumped up. But that was more than a wicket for us. It was, there was a bit of an edge to what was going on, and we were very glad to get him out cheaply.
Again was the attempted Yorker, and that'll go to the boundary for 4. Very thick edge, very frustrating this for Wasim Akram.
Kane to continue right arm off spin over the wicket.
not a great start. That one was short outside off stump. He doesn't want to bowl too many there, because if he does, they'll end up going to the fence like that one. That's a magnificent shot, using his feet beautifully there, and that'll be 4 all the way. Not only did that fly away off the bat, but it was placed to perfection. What a lovely shot by Stephen Waugh. And that brings up his half-century. Well, are we going to see another Waugh century here? He's having a great time of it, and the crowd enjoying every second of it.
It's going very fast. I suppose you could say he dived.
Yes, this is enough to drive a captain and a fast bowler mad. The problem's were actually just short of the gully fieldsman there, who desperately stuck his hand out. But whatever, look at this now. It's going down there along on his knees, and made a terrible mess of that down the boundary. Should have been picked up easily. So, Wazzy Macram now, left arm fast.
It breaks the shackles, punches it forward a point. And Steve Waugh goes into the 90s. Steve Waugh's on 98. So Hale coming back into the attack with his left arm orthodox spinners. Doesn't beat point. Oh, misfield, there's the 100. Can you believe it? A man's on 98 and a simple misfield, and that's a great 100 for Stephen Waugh. He's 9th in Test cricket, he's 5th in Australia, all because of a very simple fumble at backward point to take nothing away from Stephen Waugh. That's a great knock. Oh, there you go. It is hot and wet and slippery out there. So Hale's not that impressed. He's had him drop twice.
I'm surprised no one went to catch the bat.
Tony McQuillan. McQuillan gives the decision, so Australia is bowled out for 463. Steve Waugh remains not out, 112. A century maker for Australia in this innings, and Sale Hale picks up his 2nd wicket. Bowled pretty well.
First time you play against him, you're not sure what's going on. I've sort of described it as like an optical illusion, because you're not sure what's reality and what isn't. You know, he bowls the ball, but it comes out slower than you think because of his different arm action. And when you're batting, he's sort of there, but the ball hasn't arrived. So it takes a couple of overs to get used to it. His action obviously is different. There's been a lot of conjecture over it. As a player, we can't say whether we think it's good or not. It's up to the authorities. But that was the game where he first got called. A lot of controversy.
He's called that one as well. Well, while David Boone has chalked up his 50, the youngster down the other end, Murali Dhiran, is seeing his career float right out of the window. And you can imagine what's going through this young man's head at the moment. It's happened to a few others before, Meckiff, Giffen.
So I was at the Brisbane Cricket Ground when Ian Meckiff was called. I just can't understand why the captain's not out there at the moment.
I tell you, Bill, having looked at that, there is absolutely no doubt that he's called him for throwing. The angle of his eye was directly at the upper part of his body.
And the cricket almost was second to the controversy in that game. I got 100, but it felt as if it didn't really count too much because there was Muralitharan had been called 7 times for no balling, and that was all everyone wanted to know about. So after the game, it was just they were focusing straight on his bowling action and not about us. So in a way, it was almost like a hollow sort of win and a hollow sort of 100.
Fine shot. Off his toes beautifully. They could run for Univanatunga. The fieldsman. 4 all run.
4 all coasted, really.
Good shot. Could go all the way. Just punched through the line. 8 runs off the over. 3 for 252.
The best way of displaying his annoyance. I think then the bowler got annoyed because Steve Waugh was talking to David Boone when he was ready to bowl. So the bowler's now decided that he's going to just mess up his rhythm a little bit by bowling from a short run.
Magnificent shot from Steve Waugh. Doesn't even bother running this time.
Charminder Vas going out of the attack. Wickramasinghe coming back into the attack. Steve Waugh is definitely having his patience tested, but he's answered pretty well with a couple of boundaries, one off Chaminda Vas, and now that one from a very wide delivery. Picked the gap again beautifully. And bowlers around the world still continue to hammer away, bowling short, with Steve Waugh being on the back foot. The slow learners, some of the bowlers.
He's probably one of the best exponents of this shot in world cricket.
Hands around it at all. Beautifully played into the gap. That could go all the way. Going down the hill, over into the silver, will not catch up.
This is one of the shots of the day as far as I'm concerned. A beautiful piece of timing. He didn't try and hit it too hard, but he gets into such perfect position to play the back foot drive, Stephen Waugh.
And there's 50 for Steve Waugh.
Yes, it's been a patient innings by Stephen Waugh. He's nudged it around all over the place, played one or two good drives as well. He's certainly in good form.
Waugh gets cracking as well. That's going to be 4 through point. It's coming all the way to the long boundary. So some excitement here at the Melbourne Cricket Ground as Waugh and Ponting take over.
Yes, it's Ricky Ponting who's really set this innings in motion.
Well, overthrows, yeah. This is going to be a 5. It's racing away to the boundary. Well, you don't often see that. A single, and then the throw for the run out. Beats the wicketkeeper. Down to the fence for a further 4, so 5 all up. And the score moves on to 5 for 407. That's it. Well played, Stephen Waugh. Another Test century. That's his 10th Test 100. He's 6th in Australia, 1st at the MCG, and he's 2nd against Sri Lanka. So this is the last ball now of the over. 499's the score. This could be the end of the innings. Well, he's got a single. Now we'll just have to keep an eye on the dressing room. It looks as if Stephen Waugh's looking up towards the dressing room. And yes, there it is. The captain comes out, calls him in. So there it is. Stephen Waugh, undefeated on 131. Yet another century to him.
Mark actually didn't know about that. If he got 100 against Zimbabwe, he would have been the first person in the history. And he got out to part-time spinner for 90, so he wasn't really happy after the game. I've got the chance now. If I get 100 against India, I think I'll become the first player. So, and half the time you're not even aware of it. I mean, Mark didn't know about it, that record, and I didn't know about it until someone told me as well. So, more often than not, it comes from a journalist or someone outside the side saying, if you get something today, you've got a record. But when you sit back 20 years' time and you've still got, if you've got the record, it certainly will be nice.
The mix-up, the direct hit would have had him in trouble. Now it's overthrows. Well, common of error is there. A mix-up between the Waugh brothers again. We'll get 5 runs for it, but really, there should have been a run-out.
Cracking shot. Best so far from Stephen Waugh. That's 4.
This is a shot that he plays so well. He's already back there in position as the ball is bowled. But if the bowler drops it in the slot for him, he's just got plenty of time to smack it away off the back foot. He does it with consummate ease.
Well, he's got that one through the gap, and that'll go for 4. So 6 runs off that over. Australia 4 down for 191.
Wickramasinghe to continue now. Steve Waugh on strike. That's 50 to Steve Waugh.
Out of 5 for 218. That's the reply that Steve Waugh can do to you if you bowl wide. 7 off the over. 5 for 225.
The Australians really getting a move on now. 2 boundaries in the last over. Steve Waugh follows up with another one.
Well, it's only to emphasise when you have frail fielding.
Steve Waugh cracks it. He goes to 98. Rated #1 in the world, and he's certainly living up to that reputation. And that brings up to 301 for 5. Stephen Waugh batting at #5, doing a tremendous job. River end.
Looking for the single, that's it. Very nicely played, right up on his toes, just pushes it away on the offside, and that's a magnificent century. Applauded by this big crowd. His 11th Test century, his 3rd this season, his 3rd versus Sri Lanka, his 2nd in succession, and his 2nd at the Adelaide Oval. So the Sri Lankans here have gone just a little quiet at the moment. This is turning out to be a fantastic partnership between Waugh and Healy. It's well played, lovely cover drive again, seeing him launch himself from that movement back that Rod Marsh was talking about. He smashed that through the extra cover gap there for 4. And Dara Messina continuing with these off spinners. In the air and through the hands of the mid-wicket, or was it just wide of him? The way he threw his hands up in the air looked as if he was quite close, but that was right off the meat of the bat. I don't think he got a finger on it. Perhaps he just put his hands up in the air in anticipation of it being relatively straight.
Jayasuri at the bowl.
He's going to beat the fieldsman, yes, that's nicely played. Well, that's taken him up to a batting average of 50. Managed to sweep that one away. Nicely played too. He knew exactly where the fieldsman was and just played it a little fine of him. Oh, that's well played too. He's beaten the gap again. He's got it into the gap and it's running away down to the fence, and it certainly is a slightly quicker outfield now. And that's his 11th boundary. That really was placed beautifully.
That's a great shot. Steve Waugh just waited for it. Let the ball land, picked his spot. And with absolute precision. Even the defence force would have been proud of this sort of precision. Straight through the gap, all the way to the boundary. So Vass has been given a rest, 32 overs, 11 maidens, 3 for 76. He really has stuck to the task and bowled pretty well for his team and country. Wickramasinghe, the bowler to replace him. Steve Waugh will bring up his 150 here. 3 runs to Stephen Waugh, takes him along to 151.
Cracking shot, that's 4. It's going, slowing down. Still 4. That's all happening, isn't it? We can't take a trick.
As a player, it's something you psych yourself up for, to set your team up and to do well for yourself in that first Test match. And to get 100 with Heels in his home crowd, that was another, it made it really nice. We certainly had our luck, both of us, on that occasion. I got dropped in the slips, and then I had a run-out opportunity that went begging from England's point of view, and then Heels got dropped the 3rd man. And if they'd taken those chances, they certainly would have been well and truly on top in that first day. And
well, Steve Waugh's made it happen there. He's whipped that on its way. That nicely. Croft throwing it up. Steve Waugh going over mid-wicket.
Down, did it carry? I think yes, is the answer from Darren Goff.
I've no doubt it carried. Catches win matches.
Steve Waugh starting as he started his innings yesterday. He looked in terrific touch. Well, Healy loves it in that area, and that's a terrific way to bring up your 50. Good shot again from Ian Healy. There was another century partnership for this pairing, their 6th.
Always
gone for that one. It's going down towards square leg. Will beat the fieldsman down there. That's gone for 4.
Shouldn't be any short runs. There shouldn't have been any, and it's a brilliant performance from Steve Waugh. Seen him play some very good innings recently. That is one of the best.
Steve Waugh with his 16th Test 100. Ian Healy just 5 runs short of his 4th. Healy just passing the record of Rodney Marsh. Oh, it's beautifully hit. Now he only needs 1 run to get to the 100. Ian Healy just recently passed the wicket-keeping record, the world record of Rodney Marsh's, and he's now 1 run away from passing another record of Rodney Marsh's, most hundreds by an Australian keeper.
Yep.
That's well played. 100 for Ian Healy, his 4th in Test cricket.
Splendid performance. This is Mullally continuing.
Got the edge, well bowled by Alan Mullally. It's been a good spell since the luncheon break. Stephen Waugh falls for a magnificent 112, but full credit to Alan Mullally. Good line, movement off the seam, a genuine nick, and Stewart did the rest.
It was an important innings for both of us, sort of a rearguard action, which we've done a few times. As a batsman, there are certain players you like to bat with, and for me, Ian Healy was one of my favourite players to bat with. Dean Jones I really enjoyed batting with. Those sort of blokes who are hustlers, they're aggressive, they put the opposition bowlers off their game and make it a bit easier as the other batsmen to score runs. So those two are probably my 2 favourite guys to bat with.
Change at the southern end. It's Alan Mullally, who's not been over bowled, that's for sure. 9 overs, none for 30, but he's lacked sparkle. Oh, great shot. Mullally's just short and he's clubbed that. Magnificent hitter of the loose ball, Steve Waugh.
Out. Caught at second slip, easily taken as well. So Hick, having dropped him, has now caught him, and that's a relief, there's no doubt about that. In the air and into the gap. They've got a man in there, short extra cover, hoping that one would be hit in the air, but it was wide of him, and it's gone all the way to the fence. Oh, what a bowl! He's got him, he's bowled him out. What a magnificent delivery that was. Oh yes, it's all over. Don't worry about that. That one went screaming through him. He fell over, actually. It was a wonderful delivery. A really fast Yorker. And the ball may well have deflected off either the foot or the pad. But you can hear the woody sound, that dreadful noise behind. And that's another very, very useful wicket.
Oh, he's let go, McGill. Crashed it through, cover valuable runs. Away. He'll go to 98, all run if it doesn't make the gutter. It does. Waugh goes to 98. It's in the air and it's safe. They'll run 2. 17 Test 100s for Stephen Waugh.
It's been very ordinary from any nation. And that won't help lift their spirits either. 4 more to Stuart McGill.
Gone, they've got him finally. Mullally breaks through. That's the end of McGill, but what a fine knock.
There are some things you can't say no to. A spot of crayfishing off Cape Town is one of them. Mark Taylor's a bloke who's probably appreciated the break more than most. Well, Tubbs, you're after a bit of R&R. It doesn't get any better than this, eh?
Yeah, a bit tough day, mate. Crayfish, big glass of the white wine and Cape Town the sea. I'm hating every moment of it, mate, yeah.
And the last couple of months have probably been a pretty tough time for yourself with the press, and your form hasn't been as good as expected. So how have you handled that?
Oh, I've rather enjoyed it. The press have been generally okay. The written press have been into me a bit, but that's the way it goes. But the bottom line is we've been winning. And I've always been a team person, and when the team wins, we all celebrate. So I've had a good time.
It's those sort of days that make a tour special. They're back to business, and the job of stopping South Africa going 3-1 up in Durban. We've squared the series once, we can and we have to do it again. In Cape Town, Steve Waugh, 7 Nightly News.
South Africa is a great place, and until you've been there, it's got a unique smell about it, and you sort of feel relaxed there, and you go on safaris, and the people are good, the weather's similar to ours in Australia, and the cricket is always tough, so for me it's one of the most enjoyable places to go to.
Golf on tour is supposed to be relaxing.
Serious trouble there.
The way I played today, it's about as relaxing as facing Alan Donald. It can get a bit soul-destroying too when guys like Bluey and Bevo are cracking him down the middle.
Line's good.
It's in the hole. It's in the hole. It's in the hole. I might have had a horror, but at least I was dressed better than Andy Bickle. They are the worst socks I've ever seen.
Here's Cronier to Steve Waugh. And well, he just loves it there, doesn't he?
Well, I think that the Waugh brothers in particular are so strong off their pads, and Australian players in general just love anything around that area.
It's real tough test match cricket and really enjoyable, and to get 100 at the Wanderers, well, they call it the bull ring because it really is an intimidating place. The ground's sort of down low and you've got it's like an amphitheatre, and there's a lot of noise there, and South Africa are always pumped up in front of their home crowd, and to get it against a top quality attack and to put on 385 with Greg Blewett, that for me is still one of the highlights of my test match career.
Just the balance was so good.
Now this is a remarkable shot, and we've seen it happen so many times, and I'm sure we'll see it in this highlights package. I would say that 99 out of 100 test players would let that go through to the keeper because it's quite full. But the fact that he just jumps back very quickly, let's have a look at that, and just smashes it through the covers. Obviously very strong on the wrists.
And his
in the right
footwork.
spot.
Yes, Donald. Oh, well, Blewett got away with that. And he does hit it so well in the end. And Donald thinks, well, I might have just won that one. Another one in the wall area on the pads, and bang, away it goes.
Really is bread and butter, isn't it? And I think that any player playing international cricket should be able to dispatch these for 4. And as I said, the Australians, because they play on hard wickets, they look to play square on the leg side. It really is bread and butter.
Well, beautiful shot, and he's one of the best back-foot players in the game, there's no question. Even that, a fullish delivery, still beautiful back foot.
Yes, it's a very strange technique, and I think that South Africa, in this situation, tried to bowl full it to him, they're trying to either come forward.
180, Donald. The golf course end. Oh. Well, again off the back foot, what a way to bring up the 350. Just smashed away.
Obviously these guys are feeling so comfortable in the middle at the moment that they're looking to score runs as quickly as they possibly can. They would have had chats throughout the day, instructions throughout the day from Mark Taylor, the captain, and that doesn't deserve to be hit like that. I mean, that's just remarkable. Back foot player, the ball was quite full, dispatched the boundary.
Same result, just a little tighter to the body, but again, the back foot of Steve Waugh to me is the key. He gets that back foot across so comfortably, the balance is perfect, and he just eases it away, whether it's slightly wide, slightly full, slightly short. It's all the same way for Steve Waugh.
We batted the whole day, which has only happened a couple of times in Test history, and it was, looking back on it, Greg played magnificently well. I mean, he was probably the dominating force in the partnership, but we kept talking to each other, and we realised that this was going to be a match-winning partnership. We wanted to try and make it as long as we could, and we really worked well together, and I think for both of us, we played as well as we could have played.
Before tea, Blewett on 98. And 100. His third Test 100.
Certainly very well deserved. He's very proud of himself, and so he should be. His first Test 100 away from home. And Steve Waugh, very quick to congratulate him. He knows how valuable this knock has been for his country. And of course, when you get 3 figures, it's going to feel a lot better.
And that goes through mid-wicket. Allens will chase, but it'll go all the way over the slick outfield. And sore leg or not, Steve Waugh goes to get another wonderful Test 100.
He just continues his remarkable form against South Africa. He certainly had a problem years going by against the quicker bowlers in the world, but he's worked so hard to overcome that. And these days the quicks don't even really bother to threaten him. Big control throughout this whole game, and magnificent 100.
off the body. That's been given out. Steve Waugh pulling the hands away. Curtly Ambrose was very confident. So were the West Indian fielders. Umpire Steve Randell had no hesitation. And Steve Waugh is on his way.
Yeah, I love playing against him. He really had the wood on me early doors. I think he got me out 10 times in not many tests, and you know, I think he's the best bowler I've come up against. He's so relentless, great line of length, and first ball is as quick as his last, and if there's anything in the wicket, he's going to get it out of the wicket.
And there's a good delivery. There's an appeal for caught behind. The umpire looks to see to his square leg compatriot to see if the ball is carried. The nod comes. Umpire Terry Prue puts up the finger, and Curtly Ambrose, the man who puts the batsman under most pressure, has made the breakthrough, taking the outside edge of Steve Waugh's bat.
That's a good reward for Ambrose. He's bowled very, very well. Far and away the best of the West Indies bowlers. Has not let the pressure off at all.
Waugh on strike again, 2 slips and... Oh, that's out. Caught behind. Big nick there. Stephen Waugh has gone as well. That ball bouncing a little bit more. He's played and missed quite often, and that was a big edge. They hardly went up, really. It was such a big edge, and through to the keeper it went, and up came the umpire's finger. This is how it happened.
Yes, a little bit wider than you'd think that Steve Waugh needed to play at, but it certainly was a good ball.
I've had words with a few players in the past, and it's sort of just blown over, but Curtly probably wanted to take it one sort of step a little bit further and go towards me.
That just shows you how slow the wicket is. And they're exchanging a few words out there, batsman and bowler. It just shows you how serious these two are. I wonder if Stephen said well bowled.
We've had a few run-ins over the years, and I respect him greatly as an opponent, but in the West Indies he's only ever got me out once, and that was the last test match I played over there, so I've done well against him on his home turf. In Australia he certainly had the better of me.
And I said to AB before the match, I said he wears white sweatbands, big ones, but this big, and wears red ones to the test matches. Now, here's one guy, he comes in, he shakes the ball, and it gives a bit of a deception from where the ball actually coming, where Donald and these kind of guys come in, you can see the ball out of the hand, so the wristband doesn't come in, but it's like a salt and pepper shake. He shakes his hand around. And I said, right, I'm going to say, can I tell him to whip him off? And Simo and AB both said, okay, do it. And as we lost the wicket and I'm walking out, I can hear the guy saying, oh, but he's not going to do it, is he? And I'm thinking, yes, I am. So I told him to rip him off, and he didn't say too much. It was more Richie Richardson getting into his ear, but I tell you what, those next 3 balls, jeez, were they quick.
It was okay for Jonesy because he was out there batting well and was looking $1 million. For me, I'd just come in the bat and I thought, what's this idiot doing? You know, he's fired up the world's quickest bowler with a white ball in a day-night game where there's a bit of dew and it's flying around everywhere. But that's Jonesy. He used to love to take him on, and one-day cricket really was his turf. When you used to have him on your side in Melbourne in the one-day game, automatically it gave you a 15-20% advantage because the crowd just loved it. And he owned it. He got out in the field and he owned the game, and he knew that. And for us, he was great to have on our side.
Magnificent. There's a man at deep mid-wicket. Straight onto the dog track.
Well, that's an absolutely terrific shot. I know he's played some good shots today and he's in good form, but he's so quick onto anything short. He rocks back and he's hit that with terrific power into the crowd.
It's a one-hander and over the man at fine leg, and I'm not too sure why he was in there rather than being back 15 yards on the boundary. He's made 122 from 125 balls. Oh, just reach out and catch it, Jeffrey. What a magnificent hit. I could tell you something else about that. That's 6. Dean Jones is batting 1,000 in this innings.
As a whole, whole series, that was the best quality test match cricket I've ever played in. The catching was phenomenal from both sides. The fast bowling was intimidating and hostile. The batting was really hard work getting runs. So to cap it off in that last test match, to get a double 100 mark, to get 100, to put on a sort of a match-winning partnership, and to beat the West Indies for the first time for us for 20 odd years, and for themselves, they'd never been beaten for 15 years in a row. So it really was a major achievement.
The sort of welcome Stephen Waugh is going to get at the crease. A lot of short pitch stuff with those blokes sitting close waiting for the pop chance.
That typifies the West Indies' aggression this morning. They're really in this match.
Again, in the field. That's a lovely shot. That's the shot of the one Australian batsman who's been consistently in touch. Oh, glorious shot, the square drive. Majesty in that, majesty.
Just rubs salt in the wounds.
Real hard work. You know, against those guys, you know that 2 or 3 balls every over are going to be at your body or over your head and you can't score off. Their over rate's slow, so a lot of times you look at the scoreboard and think that you're not scoring quickly enough, but there's not a lot of opportunities to try and dominate, so you really have got to hang in there and work hard, and hopefully someone like Carl Hooper might come on and bowl a few overs, which he did, but you've just got to keep working their quicks down. In a way, their strength can also be their weakness because they have got such great quick bowlers, but if you can get used to that pace, then they haven't got a lot of variation. So it is a matter of trying to overcome that and trying to bat for a long time, which we did.
It's the toughest challenge in the West Indies is to play in Sabina Park. They've met the challenge admirably. And this time it's beyond Chanderpaul. He made a desperate dive, but not even his young eyes and young legs could reach that. 3 for 208.
That's well hit. Tremendous blow. Way over mid-wicket, got under it. From the time that left the bat and you heard the sound, you know where it was going to go. But he will not be on 99 any longer. His 8th Test century for Mark Waugh. Applause from the Australian players.
Going to go for it. He's completed it. Lifts his bat to the dressing room. Mark Taylor stands, his captain. Probably his finest moment, his 8th Test match century, his 2nd against the West Indies, and his 1st in the West Indies.
He's probably actually enjoying getting on the front foot occasionally to the West Indies now.
There it is. 150 for Steve Waugh. Lifts his bat to the crowd again. Michael Slater leading the applause from the rooms.
Now he's brought the field in Richie Richardson.
And that could go for 4. There's a long chase around for Kenny Benjamin, who has picked it up rather late. They could run 4 here. Kenny Benjamin is not the fastest of fielders in the West Indies team, and they'll come for the 4th, which will bring him up his 200.
What a magnificent effort. One of the greatest moments in his career. Got Australians running out from everywhere here. A standing ovation here at Kingston. Sometimes it's a bit of a shame here when the crowd comes out to congratulate him, but it's better off when the crowd's staying off the ground and off the wicket and giving Steve Waugh a bit of air and take the applause from the crowd.
It definitely was a highlight because as a batsman you dream of scoring 100 in a tough situation against the best opposition, in a crucial test match, and that's all those things came together.
And he's gone, and that's it, and it's been caught by Taylor. How appropriate is that? Warren, everybody gathering to hug Taylor and Warren. Simpson, what a moment. The Australians running on to the ground.
Yeah, we had Alan Border there, Dean Jones, Jeff Forson, all the guys that have played against the West Indies but never been lucky enough or good enough, I guess, to beat the West Indies. For them, that win was also, you know, part of their efforts and trials and tribulations for all those years of hard work. So it was good they were there. We certainly had a few drinks in the dressing room, sung our team songs. We had always sing K-San and True Blue, and then underneath the Southern Cross I stand. And you know, we certainly got into it. At that stage, I got called outside for an interview, which I thought was going to be a radio interview. And straight away I had a microphone stuck in my face, and it was a live cross to Ray Martin at a current affair. So doing a live cross to Ray Martin with about 20 drinks under your belt wasn't easy. But from there we went back to the hotel, had a really good night there. And at that stage I'd stayed in my whites and my green cap, which is a bit of a tradition now. When we win a test, I normally keep the baggy green on, and so do a few of the other guys, and we wear that until we go to sleep. But on this occasion I still had the whites on and the spikes, and next morning I woke up in bed and sure enough I still had the spikes on and the whites and the jumper and the cap. But it was a great night. We really enjoyed ourselves and let off a bit of steam, because playing against those guys is mentally very tough, and after 6 or 7 weeks you really need to have a bit of a break from it.
And he's gone, and that's it, and it's been caught by Taylor. How appropriate is that? Warren, everybody gathering to hug Taylor and Warren.
The amber fluid and champagne.
Today had to be the most proudest man in world cricket. The man of the series, Steve Waugh, Australia.
And for the fourth, which will bring him up his 200.
Standing ovation here at Kingston.
It's just the early scenes of what's going to be, as you said, high jinks, and well, they deserve this.
This crop of players, Australian players in a nutshell, how do you sum them up?
World's best, obviously. We knew what we had to do to win. We came out and did it. You can't ask for any more from a team than that.
The tension between the two sides reached boiling point last night over the Glenn McGrath spitting incident. Aussie skipper Steve Waugh slamming Brian Lara for making a complaint directly to the match referee. McGrath escaped suspension but was fined $3,000. Today, more frustrations for the Australian paceman early on, while Ian Healy answered his critics in emphatic fashion.
Brilliantly stumped by Healy. There is...
In the past 24 hours, Adrian Griffith has copped it all, but he was fast running out of partners.
Big shout, and that's out.
But Windies fans had nothing to smile about as McGill continued the home side's demise.
Got him. So it's worked.
The alarm bells were ringing when Griffith became McGill's third victim of the day.
He's given him.
It was fitting McGrath put the icing on the cake. Collymore making it 30 wickets for the Australian paceman in 4 tests, but it wasn't good enough for him to win player of the series.
I've chosen Brian Lara as the man of the series.
In light of Lara's actions over the spitting incident, McGrath wasn't exactly jumping for joy as the Windies skipper tried to smooth troubled waters.
Glenn McGrath, who I thought bowled brilliantly and was a sight to behold throughout this test series.
Steve Waugh coming away from his debut series as skipper with the Sir Frank Worrell trophy in his keeping.
We really wanted this trophy. It means as much to us as an Ashes earned, so yeah, we're very happy to have it again.
Yeah, it was an amazing test all round. I remember walking up the steps into Manchester because it's one of my favourite grounds there. It's got great tradition as well. And I just all of a sudden thought of Bob Simpson getting 300, and I thought, if this is a ground where you can, I want to achieve something special. It's not been done before by Australians, and there are certain times in certain matches where you go to the ground and you feel really good about things, and that was one occasion. I must admit though, after we won the toss and elected to bat, I thought Tubby had lost his marbles, because everyone looked at the wicket. There's a heap of grass on. I thought this would be a great toss to win. We've got a bowler to win the toss here. But Tubbs, you remember back to the last tour where we played at Manchester, and day 4 and 5, there was a lot of turn. He thought it was going to do the same. So in a way, it was was a fine line between a great piece of captaincy and a huge gamble.
And runs coming from it. That's nicely clipped away. Beautifully timed, actually, by Steve Waugh.
Yeah, that's a good stroke. Goff won't be too pleased with the actual delivery.
That's another good shot. That's a real strength for Steve Waugh on the leg stump.
Come on!
Well, it was a good effort. But not so. Very, very good 100. When Steve Waugh looks back in years to come, I doubt if he'll find many better innings he's played than that one.
That's a crashing shot.
When the second innings come around, by that stage the wicket had really flattened out, but for me it was a bit harder. I had a hand problem which had sort of blown up because of the first innings. I got a lot of balls on the splice and I had hand problems, but in a way when you got some sort of injury it makes you concentrate even more. I think Alan Border was the best of that. Whenever he had a hand problem he went out there and got 100, so it started off pretty well the second innings. I was nice and positive, then all of a sudden I got to 50 and thought, well, this might be my game where I get 100 in each innings. It was something special and something I'd never done before. Got to the 90s and managed to sort of scunge my way through the 90s, got 100 and became, I think, the third Australian ever to do it against England, in England. So it's a nice moment to have.
And Croft bowls to it, which is not the place to bowl to these boys. And that's 4 runs.
That's a great shot. No need at all for Steve Waugh to run. And this one guided actually quite easily.
Yes! And it's Steve Waugh's 50. A century and a 50. A good shot. And Waugh hasn't moved a muscle.
And there it is. Loud applause around the ground and long chase to the fielder. Steve Waugh eases his way through to a second century in the match.
Yeah, he sent me a letter, which was great. You know, welcome to the club, which is, as you say, there's only 3 players to have done it. I was the first right-hander, but it's always nice when you get contact from, you know, the generations before you, because it's important to know where you've come from and what's happened before you playing for Australia. So it's always really nice when something like that does occur. And Arthur Morris wrote me a letter, said, well done. Hopefully there's a few more other players that can join this club. I was lucky enough before the recent tour to Sri Lanka where I actually had a one-on-one meeting with Bradman at his home in Adelaide, and we talked about an hour and a half, and it felt like it went about 2 minutes. You know, there was so many things I wanted to ask him about which I didn't get time, but just sitting opposite him talking to him was a great experience, and he was so sharp about everything. You know, he knows modern day cricket well, he likes one-day cricket, but I was just more interested in talking about him, but he didn't really want to talk too much about himself. You know, I said, what made you better than anyone else? He said, well, I wasn't. There's other more talented players than me, and I found that hard to believe. Then I said, well, what about your captaincy? What sort of captain were you? He said, well, I was an ordinary captain. So talking about it, he almost makes it sound as if he was just an average player, an average captain, but obviously he wasn't. He was a freak of a player. I talked to him about batting and, you know, whether he got hit in the hands or not. He said, no, I never got hit in the hands. So I said, did you ever get injured? He said, well, there was once I got hit on the bicep and I hurt a bit overnight, but he must have been such a great player to never have been hit on the hands. His reflexes must have been something else. I was really firing a lot of questions at him, trying to pick his brains, but I'd love to spend more time with him and talk about cricket because he is so switched on and has great ideas about the game and does know the modern players well. I mean, I did ask him whether there was anything I wanted to pass on to the modern day players, whether we should do anything different or whether he thought the behaviour wasn't as it should be on the field. And he said, no, he really enjoys the way cricket's played these days. The only thing he would like to see change is the front foot rule and go back to the back foot no ball. You know, you're 91 years old and you become a little bit frail and he's not used to going out too much these days, but it'd be a huge highlight. I'd love to get him in the dressing room just for 5 or 10 minutes.
To be named captain is a great honour, and I guess it's something I never thought would come my way. Growing up as a young kid, I'd love to play for Australia. That was always my dream. And I got that opportunity. I've played 100 Test matches in 251 days, so I've been really fortunate. And to be captain, that's a great thing for me.
Yeah, 94 not. I don't think Glenn McGrath played that test because I remember Damien Fleming coming in. I was 72 not out, and I thought, well, I'll get 70, 75 not out, or I'll get out for mid-70s, so I won't get 100. I didn't even think about the 100 until I got into the 90s, and all of a sudden, Flemo went to play a big cover drive, and Nick won the first slip, and he was really sorry about it and apologised on the way off. I said, look, mate, don't worry, if Glenn McGrath was batting, I would have been 72 not out. So it didn't really matter. There was an extra bonus, 20-odd runs there, but having said that about Glenn's batting, he's certainly improved, and he's got me to a lot of milestones, so no doubt he'll be watching this, and Glenn, you've done really well for me.
Beautiful shot. He tried the Yorker, but it was just on the leg stump. He picked him up beautifully.
It's a lovely shot by Waugh, having hit him on the head. He's then tried to York him, and Waugh over on off stump there, takes it away off that leg stump.
There's two more at least here. The outfield's a bit faster today than it was on the first day, and that'll go all the way to the boundary. And England have every reason to be rattled. The Australians have come back in the best way possible this morning. They've taken the game up to the England attack. 2 wickets have fallen. But Steve Waugh has moved along to 93, and he's done it in terrific style. Which he talked about the England team being rattled in the field. Oh, what a lovely looking shot that is. And again, it's a misfield. Damien Fleming growing in confidence and stature every minute. They'll run 3. One thing about number 11, when he comes in with a recognised batsman, he's got to turn the strike over. They usually do it with singles. Damien Fleming now doing it with 3s.
He's been one of Australia's most valuable players in recent times. And he's gone now. He's going to stay on 94 because Damien Fleming has been safely pouched by Graham Hick at slip of Devon Malcolm's bowling. A deserved wicket for Malcolm.
I'm the world record holder. I think I've got 9 Test 90s, and after Zimbabwe I've got 20 Test 100s, but it could have been 10 90s and 1900s because it's the first time I've actually got dropped in the 90s in Zimbabwe. I was on the back foot and hit one straight to point to one of their good fielders, Grant Flower, and he dropped the sitter, and I thought, there is a God. I've finally been dropped in the 90s because I've just almost been cursed in the 90s before. I think I've had a 99, I had a 98 in Pakistan, which was one of my best Test match innings ever. I remember Waqar Yunus bowled this quick bouncer which hits my shoulder, bounced down, sort of hit my hip, went down behind me, hit the back of my boot, and rolled down and took one bail off. And I thought, that's it, I'm never going to get another 100 after this one. So there were some real disappointments in the 90s, but when you finally make it to 100, it makes it even more special.
Well played. Onto the back foot, driving through the covers, and it'll go all the way for 4.
Stephen Waugh, the man on strike. Speaking of damage, I think a number of people in the crowd were having a hard look at that ball and hoping it didn't end up too close to them at pace.
He's gone! He's bowled him! Beautiful delivery, nice flight, enticed the drive. That's superb bowling.
One of those things, I guess you say that one of those things, it doesn't happen a lot, but I was fielding at mid-wicket the ball before, and they took a single, and one of their young attacking batsmen, Jay Widener, was on strike, and he was sweeping a lot off, I think it was off Colin Miller, and I went to 45 for that sweep. Sure enough, next ball got a top edge, and I thought, yep, this is a great bit of captaincy, this I'll run and take this catch, and we'll have the Sri Lankans in trouble.
Colin Miller again, bowling his off spinners. Oh, that's gone in the air. This is going to be safe, is it? No, this might be out. Oh, there's a collision. Oh, a dreadful collision down there. Dreadful collision. My goodness.
So I was running after the ball, and I knew it was going to be a difficult catch. I had to run sort of full pace, and all of a sudden the ball went into the sun. And I looked up into the sun and lost the ball for a second. Then all of a sudden it came out, and I realised that I had to dive to try and make the catch. So I went to dive full length, and next minute I felt like I run into a brick wall. I'd just forgotten there was a fieldsman out at deep square leg, and he'd forgotten I was running back for 45. So we soon realised that we'd made a big mistake.
This is going to be safe, is it? No, this might be out. Oh, there's a collision. Oh, a dreadful collision down there. Dreadful collision.
Went to feel my face, and my nose wasn't in the right position, and I realised it was over here somewhere. And I went to sort of look at the players and couldn't see anything because I didn't know whether I damaged my eyes, but fortunately for me, there was just blood in my eyes and I couldn't see a thing. But really, the nose was the only damage. But it was a shock to me that I ran into someone. I just forgot about this as a fieldsman.
Oh, there's a collision. Oh, a dreadful collision down there. Dreadful collision.
I was sitting in the back of the ambulance with sort of blood coming out everywhere and my nose on the wrong side of my face, and Jason was lying down in the ambulance in absolute agony. At that stage, we didn't know he'd broken his leg, but he was sort of moaning and groaning, and every time I moved him, he was in agony. And there was all press there and guys taking photos, and it was like a comedy, really. I mean, it was a minivan which was in poor state, and there was 3 on the tree, and the guy changing the gears wasn't real flash, and he flew out of the ground a million miles an hour, going over bumps everywhere, and Jason was just screaming himself non-stop, and we're trying to tell the driver to slow down, but he didn't understand English, and it really was chaos till we got to the hospital. And then we were put into a room where, once again, we're both sitting there, and there's probably 100 people in the small room, and we didn't know who the doctors were, who what was, and there was people taking photos, people bringing their kids in to have a look and trying to get autographs, and it really was a crazy situation. The most superstitious thing I do now is I carry my red rag in my pocket, which it happened on the 93 tour when I was batting with Alan Border at Headingley, and we both got big hundreds, but early on that innings, I think we were 20 or 30 not out each, and I was really sweating a lot, and I called for a rag from the 12th man, and he brought out this red rag. I thought, oh, okay, it's not a great colour, but I'll stick it in my pocket. Went on to get 155 knot, Alan got 202 knot out, we put on 330, I thought, this is going to stay forever now. So I've used that in every test match innings I've played from that moment on. So that is my only bit of superstition now. The beard, the shaving stuff where I'd never used to shave in a test match, that's gone. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm cursed with if I leave any sort of facial hair, because in Sri Lanka we had a facial hair contest before the first test match, and I was growing what was supposed to be a Rod Marsh mow, which was nice and thick, until I smashed my nose over the other side of my face. I thought, that's it, I'm getting rid of that mow. So now, from now on out, I try and keep it pretty much clean shaved.